All right,
Very good.
excellent. Well, it is 6:03, so I do want to call the meeting to order. And we will start with our Pledge of Allegiance. And I think there's a flag right back there. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, and you just want to, before I go on with the agenda, I do just want to take a moment. I know we experienced a loss at our high school today, a student, and didn't feel it would be appropriate to jump into this without at least first mentioning that. And our certainly our hearts and our thoughts are, my heart and my thoughts are with students and staff, and of course family. For that student, it's an incredibly difficult thing to experience, and just want to thank all of our staff for being there for the students today. I can't even imagine, but I'm assuming a really tough day at school, and probably will continue to be a tough day. So, or tough week, I should say, and ongoing. And for the family, I have no words, but just wanted to acknowledge what folks are going through, all around, students, staff, family. So, thank you. Yeah. And with that, we are in person, so we do have some meeting guidelines and safety protocols to go over. So, and the purpose of this meeting is for the board to conduct board business. Meeting is open to the public and is recorded. You can listen to all past board meetings by visiting board docs through our district website. And this meeting is being presented via Zoom, and it's not appropriate for audience members to interrupt board business or ask questions during the meeting. There will, however, be a portion of the board meeting that will be open for public comments. Board members will not engage in discussion or debate with members of the public. And the superintendent may provide information if appropriate. The board chair acknowledges input received and may, if needed, ask the superintendent to take the matter and report back to the board. If you have any concerns about individual district employees, please make sure to address those directly to the superintendent. And if it requires an administrative response, that's where it'll come from the superintendent directly. And then for those in person, for public comments, please use the sign-in sheet located. I believe we have it right at the table, right as you enter. And public comments will have, individuals will have 3 minutes to speak. And I believe that covers it. Now with our vision and mission statement. Let's see, our vision: our community inspires and prepares each student to thrive. And our mission: in connection with our community, the SWIM School District empowers staff to inspire hope and provide flexible, innovative learning opportunities in a safe and respectful environment so each student thrives. Next to the acknowledgement, the land we stand on. Would you like to take that one?
Sure.
All right.
We acknowledge the land we stand on. The SWIM School District administrative and school buildings sit on the ancestral land of the S'Klallam people. While the S'Klallam traditionally come from one nation, history has led to the formation of 3 sovereign S'Klallam tribal governments. The Lower Elwha S'Klallam tribe located in Port Angeles, Washington. The Jamestown S'Klallam tribe located in Sequim, Washington. The Port Gamble S'Klallam tribe located in Kingston, Washington. The district's primary partnership is with the Jamestown S'Klallam tribe. Today, the tribe and the district share a partnership that includes official consultation on program and funding changes that may directly affect American Indian and Alaska Native students, as well as holistic service planning for students to remain successful in their educational journeys.
I always like to make a point, and obviously we do acknowledge the land we stand on, but just know with decisions that we make too, that we honor that because we want to collaborate with the tribe. We've reached out to the tribe for many different issues, including being a part of our search panel that we have, or not our search panel, our stakeholder panel with regards to superintendent search is just one example, but it's important to us that we make sure we include them on both decision-making and collaboration as well. So never like that to be a routine. I want to make sure that we honor what we say. So, and with that, that brings us to 3.01 of our agenda. We do have a couple of special presentations, but we're going to start with our presentation on the VAPE litigation. And we have some special guests for that. We have William and Garrett. So with that, I will pass it over to you two. Welcome.
Yeah. No.
Thank you. Yeah, greatly appreciate you giving us the opportunity to come and present to you tonight. This is certainly a topic that is of utmost importance right now to school districts across the state and across the country. As you know, the vaping epidemic has raged through this state, and Williams' firm here has taken a unique approach to this, and we think it's a sort of a no-brainer for school districts to jump in. And so I'll let William describe the litigation itself, and then if you have any questions at the end, we're happy to answer them.
Thank you, Garrett. Hi, everyone. My name is William Shinoff. I'm an attorney with the France Law Group out of California, and we are leading the litigation in this vaping litigation on behalf of school districts across the country. Currently, my firm represents over 650 school districts in 32 states in this case. This case is focused on two defendants, Juul Labs and Altria. And what we're focused on is the fact that they intentionally marketed their products to children. And now we are dealing with a new generation of nicotine addicts based on their marketing. And so in this case, what we're looking at is how we've seen the impact of the vaping on our campuses. And so under the law, school districts have a right to go and bring cases like these when there has been an impact. And in our opinion, that the public entity that has been hit the most by this vaping epidemic has been the schools. And so what we look at in this case is it's under what's called the legal theory of public nuisance. So under public nuisance law, we have a right to go bring a case on behalf of a school district when there's corporate bad actors that have impacted those schools. And so what we're asking for under those theories is to ask for any financial harm the district has suffered to date. But what's of utmost importance is requesting financial harm to remedy the problem that these defendants have made. So to go and give you a picture of what we're looking at is, so when we're looking at what financial harm a district has suffered to date, what we look at is, has the district spent money on vape detectors? Has the district spent money on educational programs? And then what we also look at is, has the district spent money on what the district has spent on staff time, administrative time dealing with vaping, whether that be discipline or education. And so we have experts in place who will then go and evaluate those matters and put a dollar figure on it. But also what we're looking at is the future. So what do we need to do to cure this issue on our campuses? And so what our experts have told us is we need to focus on three specific things: deterrence, support, and education. And so one way we can deter vaping on campus is by installing vape detectors at a minimum in your middle school and high school bathrooms. These vape detectors, they can cost anywhere between $3,000 to $5,000 a room. So it's a very expensive venture to come out to your general fund. So that's part of what we're asking for in this case. Also, we're very cognizant of the high amount of children that are using this product. Right now, the national average of youth vaping is 32% that are using it on a daily or weekly basis. In Washington, you're above that average. And so we know that we can't just solve this issue overnight. So our model is based on a 5 to 10 year funding model. So what we also are asking for is to get additional funding for school resource officers, or if not school resource officers, for staff for supervision purposes. Then we go to the next part, which is support. We need to be able to support the students that are dealing with nicotine addiction now, as unfortunately due to this product. And so we want to provide the districts the opportunity to hire counselors that have a background in addiction. And so that's another part of what we're requesting as part of this case. Then finally, what we're asking for is funding for education, because when this product was initially brought out, the whole premise of it was safe. There was no statements regarding the harm of it, that the fact that there was nicotine in it, or the fact that there was a very high amount of nicotine. So what we now need to do is educate those students that are using the product so they will stop using it. We need to educate the parents on what to be on the lookout for. We also need to educate the younger children on what this product really is and how harmful it is, so they'll be able to say no to it when they're approached with it, unfortunately, as young as middle school with the product. And so that's what our goal is in this case. This is a mass action. So this is not a class action where you're being involved in. So your district would have its own case in federal court. And as a result, the court in this case is consolidated into the federal court in San Francisco. We currently have a trial date of November 7th, 2022. So we're not having this drawn out process of this case. And so all that's going to be required for your district to be involved in this case is to go and fill out what's called a court order discovery questionnaire, which should take your staff about an hour to complete. A question that I get from a lot of school boards regarding this case is also the cost to be involved in this case. So there actually is no cost to be involved. So we work on what's called a contingency fee basis. So what that means is if there is no financial recovery for the district, then the district pays no fees and pays no costs. But if there is a financial recovery, then the attorney fees are paid through that. Now, Garrett's firm is working on this case pro bono, so they're not charging anything for their services related to this case. And as a result of Garrett's firm working pro bono and our firm taking a reduced rate, normally we would charge 40%. We've cut our fee to 20%, and that would come from the recovery. So with that being said, I wanted to keep it short, wanted to give you a little bit of background, but more than happy to answer any questions you all may have.
Great, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Yeah, do you want to open it up for questions?
I'm curious about the trial date and where is the case, which court is the case pending in?
Yeah, so we have, in this type of action, we do what's called Bellwether Trials. So we have 6 selected plaintiffs, so 6 school districts. The first plaintiff in this case is going to be San Francisco Unified School District. It's in the Northern District of California in San Francisco in front of a judge named Judge Orrick.
Okay. And then you have 6 other trial dates shortly after that? Correct.
So in this litigation, there's a mix of, there's the public entity cases, and then there's the personal injury cases, those that have claimed that they've been injured by the product. So we actually have 2 personal injury cases before the November trial date. Those are children that have alleged that they've been addicted to the product and they've been harmed. And then what's going to happen is we have 5 others that are going to have trials in 2023.
And then with the hope of getting some kind of a universal settlement, I assume?
To get to some sort of resolution protocol, correct. And, we're more than expecting to go to trial. And that's our expectation at this point, but we truly believe very strongly in our case. We've defeated 2 motions to dismiss from these defendants. And so whether it be a resolution before trial, we don't know, but it may take a couple of trials to get to a place to determine what the true amount is to resolve these cases for every one of our clients.
Thank you.
Of course.
Sure.
Could you just brief us again on what will be asked of the board to do in order to move forward with this?
Yeah, so the board, all we need the board to do is to approve our agreement to represent your district in this case. What would be required for your staff is filling out a questionnaire regarding the impact of vaping in your district. And that'll take your guys' staff about an hour to complete.
Thank you.
Of course.
Any other questions, Dr. Jeffers?
Yeah, roughly, how many districts are involved, or how many districts in Washington State are involved?
So I can tell you on my part, we're right over 650 school districts across the country. In Washington, we just started this about a month and a half ago, so we're now just presenting to school districts. I would say right now we're somewhere close to 20 to 30, but we're presenting for the next 3 months pretty much to school districts in your state.
We've got 31 that have either approved or submitted their documentation at this point. And those range from some of the biggest, we've got the 6th largest district in the state, all the way down to a little one that is in the wheat fields over here on the east side of the state. So it's sort of from 25,000 students to 50 students. There's a range of districts.
Thank you.
If I may too, just add to what I know about that. I know that WASA is working hard now to get this information out to districts. And so I think some people are just kind of getting up to speed with it, and but they're working hard at getting out all the information and encouraging people to consider joining. So I think the information is just sort of blooming right now. Is how I would describe it.
Yes.
To any of our, we have our two our student reps. Any questions?
Yes, I do have one.
Excellent.
How will this case help the cooperation between the school district and the community? Because we know that this issue with the students being addicted to nicotine goes beyond the school grounds. So how will this case just help the prevention of giving the kids the sources of this addiction?
Yeah, so part of this case is we're trying to bring to light what's really hidden in the dark going on right now regarding this vaping issue, bringing to light how children are getting this product. And so what's going to be a very key tool to this issue is education, because not only are we trying to educate students, what we're also asking for is funding for educating the community, because parents unfortunately don't get to hear everything about or what to expect from vaping. They might think this thing is a USB device, but we need to educate parents on what to look out for. What are the signs of someone that's going through nicotine withdrawals or nicotine addiction? So that's part of what we're asking for, is to get that funding. And so as part of this is what we're trying to do is get communities together to acknowledge the fact that this is an issue. And that this is one way we can bring to light that this is a real problem, and so that's the one way the education is going to be a key component of bringing the district and community together.
Any other questions?
No, I think I understood it.
All right, great. Well, we definitely appreciate your time, and I know for the rest of the board, we do have this as an agenda item later on, so we'll want some further discussions, and I'll invite the students to be a part of that as well. But yeah, thank you for the presentation. That's been incredibly helpful.
All right, thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you. All right. And that brings us on the agenda to 3.02. We have our education support professionals proclamation. And I do have the proclamation here. Superintendent, did you want to read this? I'm happy to read it.
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
I think it'd be wonderful if you read it.
All right, excellent. Yes, happy to happy to acknowledge this prior to our Educational Support Professional Week. Obviously, it can't, there's so much that can't be done without the assistance of everybody else that's making it happen. It's not just about teachers. It's about all the other folks that we have helping out the cause. So whereas education support professionals are involved in nearly every aspect of education, maintaining buildings and grounds, preparing and serving meals, keeping school facilities clean and orderly, assisting in the classroom, providing over 60% of all instructional hours to special education, English language learners and opportunity gap students, performing and conducting research activities, providing information technology and media services, administrative support functions, and safe transportation, creating a secure and healthy environment, and many other specialized services. And whereas more than 62,000 education support professionals work with and help students in Washington's universities, colleges, and public schools are the backbone of our public education system and deserve recognition and thanks for the outstanding work they do for this state and their communities. And whereas education support professionals are instrumental in fulfilling the state's responsibility to educate all students, and by supporting the learning environment, they serve as crucial partners with teachers, parents, administrators, and school boards. Now, therefore, I, Jay Inslee, Governor of the State of Washington, do hereby proclaim March 14th through the 18th, 2022 as Education Support Professionals Week in Washington, and I encourage all people in our state to join me in this special observance. Signed on this 18th day of February, 2022 by Governor Jay Inslee. And I do believe we have, is it a total of 165?
That's very close.
Very,
to
very
today's
close.
number,
Yeah.
yes.
So certainly
lot of
couldn't do this without them. So I'm looking
How about a round of
forward to it.
applause?
All right. And that brings us to 4.01 and 4.02, approval of the minutes. I'm happy to hear a motion.
I will move to approve the February 25th special meeting minutes. I don't believe we got a set of the meeting minutes from the 22nd to approve, so I assume that's going to be on for next meeting.
Yeah.
I
And I
second that.
second that. We did that
Yeah.
together.
All right. So it's been moved and seconded to just approve the February 25th special meeting minutes. Do we have any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that motion approves. And let's see, now changes and additions to the agenda. I don't believe we have any, so we will take a motion on that as well.
I move we approve the agenda.
We have a second.
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? All right, it is approved. Moving on to our consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Do you have any discussion?
Just, it's good to see the robotics are out traveling, and also choir and cymbal ensemble festivals coming up. So it's good to see that students being able to travel again.
Anything else? All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Consent agenda is approved. And that brings us to 7.01, public comment. Yeah, we do have either live public comment, or we will provide the opportunity for virtual public comment. And each individual does have up to 3 minutes, and groups of individuals may combine their time up to a 10-minute maximum with one spokesperson for the group. For in-person, you have the sign-up sheet located at the table. And for virtual public comment, we will do that by raising your hand in the Zoom application. And when that takes place, you will be unmuted, and when it was your turn to speak. We'll do our best to call you in the order you raised your hand. Commenters will be allowed audio privileges. Please state your name and address. And commenters who violate the guidelines below may have their speaking privileges removed. In the interest of time, order, and respect to others, complaints or charges about employees are not permissible during public comment. These issues are to be addressed to the superintendent in writing. The board superintendent or district personnel typically do not engage in direct conversations or give feedback during the meeting, and board action and discussion is limited to previously published agenda topics. And so with that,
No one signed in.
we don't have anyone who signed in for public comments live. If you are attending the meeting virtually and have public comment, please signify that by raising your hand at this time. Give appropriate wait time, especially with technology.
Yeah, good idea.
Okay. I'm not seeing any hands. So with that, we will close that portion of this portion of the meeting and move on to our student board representatives. And we'll start with 8.01. Well, who wants to go first? We want Alyssa, do you want to go
Yeah,
first?
I can
Okay,
do.
go ahead.
So first, before I start the report, I just wanted to say that unfortunately today, Spring High School students got the devastating news that one of our students had passed away from an unfortunate accident this weekend. I don't want to disclose any information, but I will express on behalf of all the students of Spring High School our condolences to the family.
Thank you.
Squim High School would like to say that the registration for next year is fast approaching for 9th and 11th graders. These are some dates and important activities that will take place. March 3rd, March 9th, and March 10th will be the days when the students will be able to check high school credits, review graduation requirements, review the course guide and the required classes per grade levels, etc. March 11th will be the day when the students will be registering for their classes. Parents will be able to access the schedules from March 11th to March 18th. There will be an email sent out March 3rd with important registration paperwork for the students who may be absent, so be on the lookout for that. Meanwhile, the seniors have been working on completing their high school and beyond requirement during their homeroom classes while also working out for scholarships. There will be a choir concert on March 15th, the theme being dedicated to spring. It is going to take place in the auditorium at 7 p.m. Squim Middle School would like to say that as high school students are taking the next step for next year, the 8th graders and their parents will be having a parent night meeting via Zoom, where the counselors from the high school will take the eighth graders through the introduction of the high school, the registration process, and what to expect from this new step. This meeting will take place on March 15th via Zoom, as I said. Parents of the middle school students should be on the lookout for emails regarding the registration procedures for next year. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, I would also like to start by expressing my condolences to the family and the students of that known person that passed away this weekend. It's an unfortunate accident. I have a few words from our elementary schools and Dungeness Virtual School and OPA. First, we'll start with some words from Helen Haller. They'd like to say that their staff is celebrating their classified staff this week in recognition of the Education Support Professionals Week with goodies and treats in their staff room. Various after-school clubs and programs are in full swing at Helen Haller. Another new one starting next week is launching learners for kindergarten. Their PTO is looking forward to holding the next meeting on March 15th at 6 p.m. in person in their library. There will also be a Zoom link available for those who prefer to attend virtually. Next, from OPA and Dungeness Virtual Schools, they would like to say that at OPA, students and families recently participated in a moonwalk fundraiser for the Mission to Mars project in Michelle Canapa's classroom. A special thanks goes out to the PTO for their support and contributions on this project. Teamwork makes the dream work. At both the Dungeness Virtual Schools and OPA, staff members recently participated in Professional Learning Day centered on universal design for learning and professional learning communications. A huge shout out for Becky Stanton, Case Lanning, and Sarah Decker for all the planning and coordinating efforts to make this high quality with professional learning experience. We appreciate it. Next, Grey Wolf would like to say that their last 2 weeks have been a buzz about reading. Their PTA sponsored a readathon fundraiser where students log minutes and earn donations. Today is the last day for the readathon, so if you know a Grey Wolf student, there is still time to donate to their online link. Students and staff celebrated Read Across America Day, had a book-themed door decorating contest, and had a spirit day where they dressed like their favorite book character. Grey Wolf is a reading-focused school, and they have really enjoyed celebrating all things reading. On March 1st, many of their fourth graders also had the opportunity to take the NAEP, standing for the National Assessment of Educational Progress. It's the largest nationally representative and continuing assessment of what America's students know and can do in various subject areas. It's commonly referred to as the nation's report card, and schools and students are randomly selected throughout the country to participate. They're proud of their students for doing their best and representing their school in a positive manner. Lastly, Grey Wolf is excited that 2 of our students were invited to the district's first Storyteller podcast that will be released soon. Adeline Schlezok and Learca Lopez had the chance to share about being part of Squim's Irrigation Festival Junior Royalty. These 2 girls were selected after entering an essay contest, and on the podcast, they share their winning essays. That's all I have today. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. That brings us to 9.01, regular board communication. And why don't we start with Director Jeffers? You want to start?
Sure.
Okay.
Got a lot of things to cover, and I'm going to try to do it quickly. First of all, this past weekend, I attended a WASDA training for school board members on equity, and which I found very useful. We are going to be required to do 3 of those here in the near future, and all of it's being developed and presented by WASDA at this time. So I'm looking forward to doing that. I did pick up a book that they recommended or was part of their system called Belonging Through a Culture of Dignity: The Keys to Successful Equity Implementation. And in the spirit of the Grey Wolf Readathon, I've already started reading it, and I'm gonna read the rest of it. So get some background. The school improvement plans, I'm looking forward to those tonight, and I want to, most of them run 30 to 40 pages or more, and so it's quite a bit of work to put all that together, and it's a lot of work for us to try to absorb at the same time. So I want to appreciate all the work that the administration and staff put into getting that done. The ongoing superintendent search is very exciting, and we're getting near the end. And so I'm looking forward to see how it comes out. So it's a very rewarding process. The educational support staff, so important. I was trying to think of the people that worked with me and various aspects at the middle school and high school level. And they were very useful, really helpful, and couldn't have done it without them. I want to thank Bo and the computer department for fixing my ailing computer. I had some problems last week where I could not access what I needed to access, and they fixed it up, and it seems to be working fine. So thank you to you and your team. I too want to issue my condolences to the family and the schools that have had this loss. It triggered memories going back 50 years where I lost students in my classroom that I haven't thought about for a while. And so it's a significant event in lots of people's lives. So I issue my condolences. Thank you. I'm done.
All right, Director Albertson.
I guess I want to say first, I'm so happy to be here physically in this room for this board meeting. I've been at a couple board meetings maybe by now, maybe just seems like a couple, but not here in this space. And so this is my first time walking actually into Swim High School. And so I'm really happy to be here and happy to be in this space. I also want to share that we have been busy with the superintendent search and making progress on that. And what strikes me most about that is just I'm in such admiration of these folks we've been talking with, the dedication, the hard work, the ways in which they reflect upon their work as in the field is just really awe-inspiring to me and inspirational. So it's been a lot more fun than I thought it would be. And I'm looking forward to making progress that very soon. So that's been really great. So those are the main things I wanted to share today. I'm happy to be part of the team, and I'm looking forward to talking with staff and students and teachers and everyone that makes this all happen every day. I myself was in love with all that curriculum, all those handouts from the teachers and from the principals, because it really helps me to sort of begin to know these schools and to see what's going on there and all the good stuff that's going on there, and also the stuff that needs to be worked on. So that was really, really helpful for me. So thank you.
Thank you. Director Stopper.
Oh, yes, thank you. Students, thank you for being here tonight and your reports, and also deep condolences on the loss of one of your peers and a family member. I also attended the equity training that WASDA held, and it's always good to have those refresher training and then spend time with other colleagues outside of the district. We had folks from our neighboring school district there. From there, we're coming to the close of the legislative session on Thursday, and there's been some very intensive work going on through there. You all, I don't know if you had a chance to read through the email I sent out earlier today with where we stand on things. And the next board meeting, I'll have a little more intensive report, but there's just a couple of the bills. 1590, this was concerning enrollment stabilization funding to address enrollment declines, and that passed. So that's success. Establishing a school size safety grant program, that's another one that passed. It will benefit all the school districts, especially here in Clallam County and Jefferson County. And one that took a lot of phone calls, a lot of text and emails, and that was 5155, which was a concerning prejudgment interest. And that they ran out of time to debate it and how things work on the floor as they're trying to make their sausage discussions. When they run out of time, and the bill doesn't go forth. Now, we could see that again next year, but it was a pretty big win because we know that the effect that it would have had on us. Another success, though, was 5017, and that deals with clarifying school district procurement requirements for construction management, value engineering, construction review. And that one, a lot of discussions too, and text and emails and phone calls to encourage our legislators to move that forward, and that passed with a 97 or excuse me, 96-4 and 2 opposed. But that bill has been 2 years in making, so it's just been this session, though it was short, very focused and intense on these bills, and I think we actually got a lot more accomplished than in the longer sessions. Now the work isn't done, because now we start with preparing for next year and submitting of legislative positions, proposals, and I'll be sending out more information. I encourage on the 17th of March is our next WASDA networking call, and there's going to be a lot more in-depth briefing on this session for you. And superintendent search, I'm looking forward to Saturday's meeting. Maybe it'll be a little bit shorter than our last, but a lot of good work was done, a lot of great discussion. So, thank you.
Vice President Jones?
Thank you. I think my colleagues have covered most of the issues and most of the things that have been keeping us busy the last few weeks. I would like to thank Superintendent Zook for getting the presentation for us about the VAPE legislation. To me, that just seems like such an important health issue for our students. And I would really encourage everyone who's here, if you have input from your own experience in your schools with your own students, please let Superintendent Zook know, because obviously you guys are the ones who are on the ground and seeing the effects of this. And I think it could really help inform our decision about what to do and you know, just going forward. I just think it's really important to get the input from the people who are actually having the experience. So please let us know your thoughts if you feel inclined to provide those to us. I think that was the only other thing that I wanted to comment on that hadn't been discussed. So,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. Just want to acknowledge the preparation that's been done that we're about to go through with these reports, but also we have our administrators here, and I'm sure it's been a very long day for all of you. It's a Monday. It started very early, so in addition to all of the preparation to be here, also you're here. It's the evening, and you're gonna start again first thing tomorrow morning, and with this preparation that takes place, I know that the work never stops, and you're still back in your buildings dealing with all sorts of things, whether it be vaping issues or behavior issues. All of that still is happening. So I know there's a lot of juggling that takes place in your role. So I just want to acknowledge that you're here on an evening after a long day, and I certainly appreciate it, and especially for those that have had to directly deal with what we acknowledged already about the loss of a student. So thank you for being here, and I appreciate all of it. So, all right. So that is going to bring us to our reports to the board, and I'm going to Superintendent Zook, I'm going to pass it to you first.
Well, before you all give your reports, you're in line to do that soon. We have something that we want to say to you. So we have some, if you'd all come up front, everybody at this point, we would appreciate that. And we have, so come on, just if you'll stand, we aren't going to make you hold hands and sing Kumbaya, but we do want you to come up here, please. Okay. Okay, and with that, we have okay, go ahead.
Yeah, we're gonna get a picture too.
Wait just a sec, we're gonna get a really quick picture.
Hey, Tracy, we thought it was like a pirate spot.
There we go.
This is your hype squad. Scooch, stay up there for a second and get a quick picture. Just a quick picture of them. All right.
Thank you all very much. Our champions.
Smile with your eyes, yes, that's the only way we can smile. So here's, okay, with that, I think we are ready to begin with Swim High School. Ms. Blank first.
I think we have we have a microphone set up up front there?
We do.
Yep, right up here.
I think I'll-
We didn't use it or? I'm not sure.
Thank you.
I'm not sure.
So the other, like the online phone?
Yeah.
They can just do this.
Not on, I don't think. Is it? There, now it's on.
Thank you. Should we stand over here then? Is that what you'd like? Sure. Okay. So don't start the clock yet, though, Tracy. We have a lot to share, and we'll take us, we'll try to get through it. First off, so I was worried as we stood right there. I said, Tracy, is this a firing line? Firing line? But it wasn't at all. Thank you for the comments about today. Tough day. Right about here is where I stood and started bawling, and Eric came and saved me, so thank you. I want you to know our staff was amazing today. The way they handled the whole day, we had the library set up with our counseling group in here. We had a counselor in each of the classes that the student was in. We had a sub, we had district office people that came. Donna, thanks so much for coming over and lending support. Shelley bought coffee for our whole staff, and so it was a Cheryl McAlery, if you know her, works out of Shelley's office. She was amazing, so staff was awesome. And the vape issue, it's not an issue. We don't have kids that vape here at all. No, it has ramped up so much more since we've come back. And I'm part of the state AWSP principal committee. We met in person for the first time in 3 years, about 2 weeks ago. And I could not believe the tales from other schools about just the rampant vape use. And so I'm glad that you guys are taking this on, that we are too. So now I'll start that, Tracy. Okay. So I'm Sean for the new folks that are here. Thank you so much for having us. The theme as I was kind of reflecting to present this kind of mid-year debrief, the theme that I was thinking in my head was 3E in the Danielson rubric, which is?
Flexibility, responsibility.
I knew you'd get it. Flexibility and responsiveness. We've had to change a lot of the stuff from what we originally were planning on doing at the beginning of the year as we kind of get reacclimated with kids back on our campus. Behaviors. We went out and spoke to the whole school. We did a school-wide lesson on expectations around inclusivity, discrimination, and I spoke to mostly freshmen and sophomores. The last time the freshmen had a regular full school year was when they were in 6th grade. So that's 3 years of wackiness as we try and kind of recalibrate building culture here at Swim High School. So that is reflected in our school improvement plan, as you'll see as I kind of go on talking about a little bit, but definitely 3E has been kind of where we have lived. Our ELA goal, I'll talk about in a second, for the reading and writing aspect has changed considerably from what the original plan was, as has our block schedule and homeroom, some of the initiatives that we've done there. Even the actual schedule itself, we had to change early on to kind of monitor and adjust. Larry, your comments were 100% right. I don't know if the documents are up there. You guys have seen it. I'm not going to go through it. It's very extensive and there's a ton of information in there. So I'm going to try and crystallize some stuff today for you guys as some of the hot topics and some of the data that we are analyzing on a pretty regular basis. So first one, data dive that I'll talk about a little bit today. Our SBA tests has changed considerably. For the first time ever, we had our 9th graders in here doing a fall assessment and our 11th graders doing a fall assessment. Actually, the 9th graders, the fall assessment they took was the 8th grade test because they had SBA for a couple of years. So it's challenging to look at our SBA data right now as comparative because it's just all over the place from the state's perspective. I do want to do a commercial break on SBA, and hopefully you'll know this. We talked about, I think it maybe was actually Jane, doing a mini presentation to you guys about the implications of the graduation pathways that have changed at the state level. Prior to the pathways, as a kid being able to graduate, they had to pass the math and reading SBA. Now there are 7 different pathways on ways that kids can graduate from high schools across the state of Washington. And the reason I bring that up is because it's got a big implication on the SBA, our state test. Because before, that was the linchpin that they had to meet to be able to get out of our place. So it was very serious. It was high stakes testing. Now that's only one of the 7. So for example, when we SBA'd in the fall, we had a lot of our kids that were in our AP classes that chose not to take the test because they had already met the graduation pathway through dual credit, through an AP test or whatever. So their scores are not reflective necessarily as they have been before. I'll give you kind of a general example. We usually hovered in English, for example, around 90% pass rate. And the state was always around 80-ish or so. Right now, I don't have myself in front of me right now, but ours are in the 60s and the states are in the 50s because kids aren't necessarily putting as much stock in taking that. So just an awareness piece for you guys. We're going to talk about panorama data and how we've utilized that a little bit later when I talk about our SEL goal. I'll show you some grade data that we have accumulated from our math folks. And then we're also going to do a survey with our students and our staff about homeroom in general, our academic intervention and our SEL intervention a little bit later and utilize that data to potentially make some changes for next year. We're already starting to register, as Elizabeth was talking about, next week. So that's kind of the intro, and Aaron's going to jump in with some graduation rate data.
Mhm. Do you have a number by chance?
No, because mine wasn't numbered. It looks like this.
Also,
Like every other page.
Yeah, so graduation rates.
10,
10.
10.
You'll see that across the board, they've improved and our 9th graders are showing some great numbers as far as on trackness. This is due to a lot of our students making up their I's that they've received over the past 2 years. With COVID, the state allowed for us to make I's a transcriptable mark that stayed on a transcript versus normally it shifts to an F after 2 weeks. So many of our students are making up I's, whether that's through additional coursework or showing proficiency in some way, shape, or form, like passing an English class. This year, they had a prior I, that then changes to a P. Our academic intervention through our homerooms also is giving students the opportunity to get faster intervention by traveling to meet with their individual teachers, which I think is reflective in our 9th grade data and how on track they are. And as we talk about our math specific goal, that will also come to play. And then all of our off-track seniors, anyone who is currently identified as off-track is enrolled in our SOS program. That's our swim option school or credit recovery program. So Taylor Thorson, who runs that program, is working with each and every senior that is currently off-track to get them on track to hopefully graduate this year or keep them engaged and continuing working to continue to work toward the high school diploma potentially next year if that's what's best for them.
I do want to say something real quick to elaborate the last thing that Aaron just said there. I really do believe that the stigma of kids going to school for 5 years or even 6 years has changed dramatically. There was a social stigma before. If you didn't graduate in 4 years, you need to go away. Now we want to keep our kids here to get to the end goal. So we have a lot of 5th-year seniors. We have some 6-year seniors. We had 2 kids that graduated at semester this year that we did little mini ceremonies for them. So that has changed, and it's part of it is due to the SOS program and what Taylor Thorson is doing in that program. So, okay, so the first goal I'll talk about is our ELA goal, our language arts goal that I talked about before, as far as it had to alter a bit. Their main emphasis, just globally speaking, was around utilizing a computer program called Quill that is part of the My Perspectives curriculum adoption that we've been through the last 2 years. And it is a tool to analyze both writing and reading for kids and monitor that progress throughout the year. Needless to say, we've had, kind of like what Larry was saying earlier, we've had some challenges with our technology. In fact, when I saw Bo this morning, when I walked in, I said, oh, Bo, I'm so glad you still work here and haven't quit. Because it has been so tough with our one-to-one rollout, some firewall issues that we're dealing with right now, all those kind of things. And that has impacted Quill as well. So our teachers have not been able to utilize it with the rigor.
3 minutes. 3
minutes
minutes
left? Okay. And they have not been able to use Quill as much at all. So I'll tell you the bottom line for that whole thing. There's 3 teachers, Cheryl Ecoff, Julie Romberg, and Amanda Westman, who have been experts at it. They're going to go take one day off, analyze the data that they have, and go back and share it with our staff, with the ELA staff. Okay, next one, math goal, really easy. Their main focus was on-track graduation, and one of the key indicators is 9th grade on-track graduation. And I'm pleased to tell you that there was a 20% increase in the number of students who passed first semester, who passed algebra from the last time we had a regular school year, which was 18-19. So that's awesome, and that is indicated in her stuff as well. I'll jump to the culture goal. There was 2 of them. One of them had to do around our homeroom implementation with SEL work, and we used specifically Character Strong. We've been through, and we talked about this before, we have been through 14 lessons. Tomorrow is Wednesday's lesson number 15. I'll be honest, there's been mixed results. Some folks love it, other folks don't. We're talking to kids and staff. And as I said, we will be gathering some data from those guys in surveys to see if we're going to adjust it for next year. I do want to give a quick shout out to Christy Queen, because she was one of the drivers behind implementing this year. In reaction to kids being down for so long, 2 things: 1, academic intervention early, like Aaron said, and 2, some SEL curriculum so they can get to know each other again in our staff. Okay, panorama data. I don't think I'm going to go through it because where we're at right now, Tracy. Okay, I'm not going to go panorama data. We did not get a huge, we had a tough rollout in the first go around. Second one's been much better, so we will be analyzing that data. I was going to share it with you. You can see it in the program. I put some stuff in there. Go ahead.
Okay. And then our last goal was the multi-tiered systems of support. Again, that is implementing our academic intervention program. So on Thursdays during our homeroom, it's giving students the opportunity to travel to work with individual teachers and get support. It's also giving them the opportunity to work on their high school and beyond plans, which is another component of graduation. So using that time wisely. And then we also have worked into that our attendance goals. So we're continuing to work with students in truancy intervention agreement meetings, that's where Sean or I and the counselors and case managers meet with the students, come up with attendance plans, in supporting of that using WARNs to assess any needs that the student might have, whether that's mental health needs, behavioral needs, home life, school life needs, engagement needs. And then also using our community engagement board to get our students attending school here on campus so we can give them the support they need to be successful.
And that's, I got 7 seconds, so that's it.
5 seconds,
So,
yes.
as always, I was talking to Aaron today about it. I said, listen, 10 minutes is gonna go like that.
Yeah.
We can be sitting here for an hour. So that's what we're doing. You have the data if you want to look at that. And if you have okay. Oh, yeah. Questions here.
Take a little time for questions.
That's entirely.
Or not, that's fine.
Just one thing I will be curious to hear about some of the Character Strong data. We also, that's a curriculum that I know is done at Port Angeles, and we've been, especially at the secondary level, we've been hearing some, I don't know how you phrased it, mixed reviews, I think. So I think it'll be, I'll be interested to hear. I know that sometimes things have a rough rollout, but.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, that's part of it. This is our first year of doing it school-wide with Fidelity. And so there are gonna be some bumps in the roads. One of the things I discovered when I was at that state level meeting, I was sitting at a table with the Bellevue high school principal, and they've run the exact same schedule that we have with the block in the middle of the week on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and they're in year 7. It took a while for them to get it going. So I'll be curious to see how that rolls out also.
Yeah, thank you.
And then one thing that we didn't mention, just so you guys know, part of our plan for building the homeroom on the block schedules was for our kids to be able to get a credit. So they can get a quarter credit each semester. So ultimately, at the end of a 4-year period, kids can get up to 2 credits for doing, if they're attending and doing their homeroom activities, because it's difficult with a 24 credit diploma when we only have 6 classes. Kids can get off track with missing 1 class. So
Yeah.
that's something that's a benefit for that homeroom as well.
Anything to the high school? Yeah.
I just wanted to know whether or not this is the first year you've used the Carnegie for the math, is that right? Or-
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
But it's the first year that it's been fully implemented with our folks.
Okay.
It's kind of been a process. Our math one, for the last 3 years, has kind of been dabbling and piloting a lot of stuff, and now it's the first year that they're kind of going
Full
after.
rollout, okay, thank you.
Anything else? All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, I'm Mark Harris, the principal at the middle school, and Tracy can talk, I'm sorry. I'd reiterate, and Candace will say the same thing about the go after every penny you possibly can get relative to us fighting that vape issue. The target audience are our kids. That's who they're going after, so help us with any and everything you got. So that's it. I'm gonna race through things. Sean kind of let you know, SBA has been a quick dip our toes in. The kids have been separated from doing those as an assessment. There's some good and bad that goes with that. Swim still does quite well relative to the rest of the state. For the most part, across the board in all things that we test, regardless of grade level, we do have an ongoing issue that we identified, and we're trying to address it with mathematics. And that is, as they hit middle school and they get a dose of what it is to be a middle school student, they start to struggle with math. And so we were using a specific curriculum, and we recognized that we were not necessarily in alignment with high school. So part of your question was, are we doing Carnegie? Well, we were already doing that with our algebra class, but that was only one. This year, we're piloting that same Carnegie materials, and already our group is, yes, this is what we need to do for our 8th grade, and of course, the algebra class and beyond. But right now, the conversation is to do the right thing. Is it the smartest thing to put our kids in Carnegie by grade 6 or 7, or should we continue with what the work was at the elementary level and try to build on the foundational skills? We had several of our teachers, 3 out of the 5, who went to Stanford online this year and tried to learn about what's the best new smartest ways to teach mathematics in a world where your phone does all your calculating for you, and top mathematicians in the world no longer do math the way that you used to do math. That is antiquated, and it's considered the same as everybody having to learn how to change their oil from square one. That's not the way math necessarily works moving forward. So our group is trying to wrestle with that. It probably won't be resolved until the fall, if not beyond that, to decide what the best thing is for the kids in the swim school district when it comes to mathematics. iReady, you can see that in the data if you want to look at. Not awesome. We've never done great with iReady, but it did give us a hint as to what the academic slide was that took place due to COVID. So they gave us a sense of it. This retake of that in January gave us a dip of our toes to realize, good, they are growing, so we are having an impact, but not necessarily all the growth we had hoped. I think that Candace, when she speaks to the student experience, will be able to talk to you about the fact that, you know, this middle school age, the socialization of what that occurs at this age is so dramatically impacting every aspect of their learning cycle. They're having difficulties from square one, and we're going to fight that battle for a long time coming. So we'll keep moving from there. Panorama is the other data you can play with. For us, we too took it in the teeth on the first one, particularly relative to the way we interact as adults. And some people didn't all see the same thing. So we got a chance to look at that data and realize we had points of communication to work on. I'm pretty pleased with the growth that we've made so far. Still a long way to go, but I think we're moving in the right direction. With some of the stuff we have going on in our building, we sit every month with our union representation and have done so since the fall. We also have changed, thanks to the high school and some others, with the Teams meetings. We now hold meetings. I think we have 3 a week where we run different kinds of Teams meetings, and we record those for folks who are not able to attend or anything else that comes up. So that's been a positive feedback. Let me give Candace the mic for a second. She can talk about the student experience.
So where we took it in the teeth the most with Panorama was with belonging. We know that with COVID, it's been really rough for kids coming back and just the separation. So we are looking forward to the students getting back to one lunch, getting back to being able to interact a little bit more in classes. And they're very excited about that. They keep asking us when. So we're working really hard to get that going. The big thing is for us, we do know that the Gen Z kids do definitely learn differently. So we have been working on UDL to be able to kind of work with them and work along with how they're learning. And then because of our minutes, I'm going to give it back to Mark.
Real quick on the English language arts piece, like Sean's group, we're a little bit behind them as we change our model where the middle school is now trying to walk hand in hand with the high school whenever they change or adapt curriculum. We're doing it with them. So our English group is finally caught up to where they are. And so this year is, I think, the first year where they've fully done it completely from beginning to end. Luckily, we have some masterful English teachers, and they've already started to look at the materials in this second year, first full year, and identify where materials might not hit a swim kid, a kid who might be a Gen Z kid, as Candace has pointed out. And they found a few supplemental materials that have gotten greater engagement just by picking on those. I was in a class today with our sixth graders where they're listening and reading and watching pieces of a book called Refugee that our English teachers identified meet what they need for standards, but weren't necessarily recommended from the curriculum. So I commend our teachers for always looking forward and trying to find things that match our kids. Social studies is the other place where we're looking at curriculum. The high school is a verge where they're going to come and say, hey, we've got a curriculum for you to look at. Middle school, not so much. It's not as big an audience to try and make radical changes in the way they would present the materials. So we've been struggling with trying to look at equity as one of the big drivers and how do we have inclusivity as components of that. That's hard to find those materials on a national level from curriculum. So our folks are not committed to diving into anything at the moment, even though they'd love to. They will continue to pursue the best choices for kids. And so they're going to do a little more looking before they come forward and present that material. Candace, how about talking about our SEL?
Okay. So this is the area where I'm really passionate about. Right now, our MTSS and our SEL has been a really big focus, especially with COVID, just trying to help get the kids wrapped around with some supports in school to be able to help them do better academically. So one of the things we did was Mark created tier 1 lessons for the start of school and we encouraged all of our teachers to just do SEL for the first 3 weeks. We requested them to do it for the first, but we encouraged them to do it and continue to really build those relationships, because we know without the relationships, the kids are not going to go as far as they possibly can go. And that was actually pretty successful. We saw about 90% of our teachers did it 2+ weeks, and we've been seeing a lot of the improvement from that. We also created a success class where we have for our students that are tier 2, as a tier 2 intervention. It's a semester-long class that really does help with zones regulation and then helping build off some what we like to say are soft skills that we all need. And then from there, I've noticed a lot of discipline has gone up this year. Students are really struggling learning how to come back to school. And so we were lucky enough to get a para out of the transfers from last year, and she has a lot of experience with restorative work. So we immediately noticed that, and I poached her from Life Skills and moved somebody else that was great in there. And she is doing some restorative groups every day of the week. She has 2 periods a day where she does restorative groups, and then in between, I also have her, she does ISS, she does lunch detentions. What we focus on there is vaping curriculum, marijuana curriculum, bullying curriculum. And so we don't just make it ISS or detention. We make it so how we can kind of come back from this and regain. And then we're really excited to announce we have 10 extracurricular clubs after school every day. Most of the teachers get no stipend at all. They do this out of their own time. And so it's been very effective.
Along those lines, 10 different, we're talking about boys and girls separate competitive esports teams where they're competing against other schools across the country, different time zones. So that's pretty exciting. Plus a group of board game people. If everybody knows, our librarian at the middle school is the Harry Potter nut. So we have every Monday Potter class is after school. So there's a variety of things for kids. We even have a parent who says, you know what? I want to stay on Friday after school. Who would think Friday after school? Just to run multiple Dungeons and Dragons events in the library. So
And they've extended it 2 hours because the
That's
kids
right.
asked.
yeah, they couldn't get it done in an hour. You gotta have
2
at
hours,
least 2. She
yeah.
gives it up of her time because she loves it, loves doing it for kids. The last piece I want to give credit to our staff too is the fact that this year we flipped the model. Some kids in our life skills class would often be in classes and then they spend a large part of their day working on the skills they need to. We flipped that around and this year they're in all of our classes and only leave the general ed class for a few small moments of time to work on those skills they need in order to be productive in those general education classes. The staff has done that with open arms, so pretty impressive. At some point, I'll ask George Rhodes to see the cool picture he took of one of our kids with a really tiny new instrument just so he could play it. Pretty impressive stuff. And that's what we got for you.
I have a question.
Sure.
I'm gonna sound obsessive here about math, and I'm not. I'm just curious if there's a math club at middle
There
school.
is not yet a math club, no.
Oh, okay.
So you volunteer?
Perhaps she may.
There you go.
Yes, we do have volunteers. We do have a ex-teacher that we are going to go back who reached out. And she math. So that's our hope to get that started back after spring break.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, and the other question I had was just about when you said earlier that sometimes it sounded like the teachers have to sort of pick and choose with the curriculum as to what is useful in reaching the population.
Sure.
So that gives them some agency. Do they make that decision as to what they're going to take out of like the?
Well, depends on what we're talking about. The math group at the moment is trying to decide on the best recommendation.
Okay.
So they're not making it in that manner. In terms of the English group, they look for the details and the supplements to add to the curriculum that's already there. They do speak the same curriculum as the high school, so the same language framework and the expectations play through. It's just trying to choose those detailed pieces that might have a greater impact on kids.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Definitely want to, call out the improvements that you had mentioned specifically with classified staff and certificated staff with fall to winter comparisons. So it's, I think it's worth acknowledging those improvements. It's been a tough year, students, staff, everything. So I think we were all starting from a different place, but definitely think worth acknowledging those improvements. So, nice work. Thank you. Anything else? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
As we transition to the next group, I just also want to just take a moment to acknowledge we have Bo here and Tracy that are both just doing a phenomenal job with navigating everything. Different screens and presentations. So thank you very much.
You're on.
Just to welcome to our new board members. Good to have you here. I'm Vince Riccobeni, principal of DBS and OPA, but I'll just be talking about OPA tonight. OPA is an alternative parent partnership program that serves kindergarten through 12th grade. We have about 110 to 125 kids with lots of partially enrolled high school kids. Just give you an idea what it's like. And OPA is a parent partnership program. So the last 2 years, 2.5 years have been devastating because we haven't been able to partner. And so we're so excited once April comes and we're able to do some things. So I'll talk a little bit about our program, but I want to thank Tracy real quick here because she's driving to have to do all these things. So Tracy, thank you. And tonight when gold medals are going out, I'd like to present mine back to you.
Well,
You deserve the gold medal. Speaking of that, Tracy, could you go, I'm going to start with panorama survey information. So I'm going to steal some words from the gifted and talented Christy Queen. One of her favorite sayings is a rose, a bud, and a thorn. So I'll start with the roses in terms of our panorama survey. And first it was, at first blush, I look at it and think, okay, we're above the district in all these areas. Our kids feel very safe. There's a great sense of belonging. Student-teacher relationships were strong in lots of areas. We grew from fall to winter, which was certainly positive. But then, as we haven't had a chance to dissect it a whole bunch. We've had one time with it as a staff, but just in talking with kids and with staff members about it, there's a lot of components about it from the kid perspective that just didn't quite understand what the questions were, not just at the 3rd through 5th grade level, but I think also in the 6th through 8th grade level. And so many teachers, and they didn't, get together and have this conversation. They had told me independently how much they just wanted to put it up on the screen and explain it so that then they could have a chance to sort of, oh, that's what that means. So that was kind of the bud and a little bit of the thorn as well. And I would say the other one was I put our actual numbers up of how many families turned it in, and that was certainly a thorn. That's a low number. OPA is a partnership, and that means folks are around all the time. And I think part of this is just we've lived so disconnectedly for so long. I think that no matter how many times we sent the email, no matter how many newsletter links we put that in there, they're just not available, because normally that number is much, much higher. It's a strong number. It's very good in terms of the actual data we received, but there's certainly some work for us to continue to grow in. So that's the first part. So Tracy, can you go to the ELA goal, please? So our ELA goal was creating and supporting a progress monitoring system for literacy. Earlier, before the school year even started, we partnered with Gray Wolf for some training, and because of some support we got from the district office, we're finally able to purchase a progress monitoring literacy system for OPA. We're utilizing that right now. We utilize the Acadians reading inventory system for us to be able to progress monitor students in and out of lab services. So for the very first time, we have kids entering and exiting into lab and using data that's being used all across the district. That is going really, really well right now. We're really truly hoping we can continue those services for our students because it's critical for their success. And our students, we're really thankful to Donna's staff for helping us get trained in that program. So that's gone really well. Okay, Tracy, can you head to the math one, please? Our math goal was actually also our UDL goal, was our social studies goal, and was also our science goal. And what we did was we were working toward vocabulary acquisition. And so we are utilizing the new student growth goal pilots and identified critical tier 2 terms and are utilizing those and some high yield vocabulary acquisition strategies to be implemented in the classroom. And it's been a challenging process. We've been partnering with Casey Lang, who's come over and done some PD for us. The challenging part has been working with the new pilots. The old pilots were very scripted. The older student growth pilots were very scripted, and it was really simple to write a goal. Even writing a goal in new pilots has been really challenging for our teachers. They're doing the new they're utilizing the strategies within the classroom and are trying to target specific terms. But the pilots are really challenging to work with. So this is a goal we're continuing to find with. Whenever I do an observation cycle with teachers, I take part of our agenda in that process is we sit down and we review and discuss the student growth goals. And we do that about 3 times per year. But the great thing about it, it's been in a low risk type atmosphere. And so we're gently kind of putting our toes in the student growth rubrics aligned with an area our students need to improve. And vocabulary acquisition crosses all content areas. And so the hard thing about having a K-12 system is you can have, how is a US history teacher going to talk to a kindergarten staff member about a shared strategic effort within a system. But when you address it via acquiring vocabulary, you can talk about instructional strategies that are great in every classroom. So that's gone well, but very challenging. The next area I will talk about is culture and NTSS. This is kind of, it's been serendipitous because of the recent announcement. One of the other goals that we had was also SEL, and we've been researching and looking at different materials. And so we were able to get the Character Strong materials, thank you, district office. And so we're starting to pilot those in our building right now. We actually, at the semester, started a leadership class. So our 7th and 8th graders are actually being taught the Character Strong curriculum, and our teachers are kind of dabbling in with them as well. And we do one of the activities at our meetings at different times. That has been very well received by our students so far, and our staff members are really kind of enjoying it. But in the spirit of MTSS, obviously all of our students across the country and in SPLN have been dealing with a great deal of learning loss. And so one of the things that we're doing differently in our program is we added an additional academic day and cultural day for our middle school students. And so all of our middle school students have an opportunity to have an additional core time on a Wednesday morning, but then in the afternoon, kind of the culture and community of OPA has been all about family, and that's been missing. And so in the morning, they run another lap around, so to speak, all their core academic areas, but then in the afternoon, they mentor and partner up with a K-5 kid doing enrichment classes. So you're looking at a third grader working on some pottery, partnered up with a seventh grader doing this project together. It's really, that's sort of the heart of what OPA is. It's a family-like atmosphere. And so that's been wonderful. So the last thing I'll talk about is family and parent engagement. And this is really cool. Last Friday, we talked earlier about there was a professional development day. We had professional learning communities taking place. During one of those blocks of times, a bunch of our teachers got together. They came storming in my office at the end of the day on Friday, says, Vinny, we're going to do we're doing a program. Can't wait to do it. It's going to be April 19th. You'll get an invitation. But the theme is, we want to bring families back to campus and do this family engagement activity. Instead of, you remember the sitcom from the 70s, Welcome Back, Kotter? Well, ours is going to be Welcome Back, Otters. So, that's pretty good. And so we can't wait to have our kids and families back on campus. Stop it. I thought I said boo. I can't wait to have our kids and families back on campus again. That is it. Thanks very much.
You beat the stopwatch. That's good.
Thank you.
Who are you gonna give your time to?
Yeah, pass it along, no
Anybody
pressure.
wants? Okay, thanks very much.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you, Vance.
Alan Heller.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. Christy Queen, Helen Haller. And I would like to share, it was very unfortunate, but we did have a teacher fall ill and resign earlier in the year than we had anticipated. And so the kids are struggling with behaviors in the school year of 21-22. And so to have built a relationship with the teacher and then have that disrupted with a series of substitutes has been incredibly challenging. So much so that some of our substitutes just said, we're not going to work in that class. So being my first year there as a principal, I took it as an opportunity to really dig in and refamiliarize myself with that classroom experience when it's all on your shoulders and start from scratch working on behavior expectations with the students. And I do have to say, it has been incredibly challenging, but a huge highlight to my year. It was really fun to practice the trauma-informed practices, what we know is so important about building that foundational relationship, but then taking the time to be super explicit about every behavior expectation, routines and rituals, and the power of doing positive greeting at the door with eye contact, by name, with an assignment at the ready that they can access independently. It works. All this great stuff really does work. So that has been fun, but hard. So I'd like to just start with some celebratory data with our English language arts and math goals. We knew students coming back in, and like Sean said about the 9th graders last time they were in school, they were 6th graders. Our kids coming in, some of them by like 2nd grade, they have not experienced normal school. And so it was really hard to reintegrate and start from scratch. So our focus was really on students who were 2 or more grade levels behind. And we have seen tremendous growth and I just want to shout out some. With our fall kindergartners at early on grade level to early on grade level from fall to winter went from 17% to 38%. And this is due to the great work of our classroom teachers, Sherry Surian, our math specialist, and Betsy Smith, our reading specialist, and their fantastic crew of paraeducators. Let me just share. Our second grade, 2 or more grade levels below, fell from 38% to 17%. And our 4th grade, mid or above grade level, grew from 23% to 34%. So we have seen tremendous growth, and it is very exciting. And when it comes to I didn't include this on the CSIP, but our goal is just less. We want to see less and less red. And it is very clear that we are seeing less red. Our other goal was to increase our sense of belonging. And so, as you know, we have utilized the Panorama survey. We're going to do it 3 times. We did one in the fall, one this winter, and then we'll do another one in the spring. I am not going to lie, as a first-year principal at Helen Hallard, this is so important to me. And there were roses, buds, and thorns. But some of the thorns really stung the second round. And it is okay because we're strong and we're resilient. We're going to build back. But I don't know if you are familiar with Tucker's 4 stages of forming a group, where it's forming, storming, norming, performing. We may be in a little bit of storming, and that's okay because it's a school that has 2 brand new administrators. So the other big topic on folks at Helen Hallard's minds is we are dealing with some big behaviors. So coming back to the year 21-22, plus the school has been used to running a solution center with a full 1.0 cert. And that was sunsetted last year, so we don't have that. What we're doing about it is we've established a Helen Haller multi-tiered systems of support team with all the grade bands and stakeholders represented. And we are reviewing our behavior flow chart from start to finish. We also purchased from the CEE, Dr. Greg Brenner's whole educator series, which has 6 series. I think the middle school got it too. It has 6 series, which is just going through and really reminding teachers of the importance of those tier 1 strategies. But then each series takes them all the way up to the top of tier 3. I also wanted to share some celebratory data from our panorama, because there were some roses. 79% of our scholars feels that their teachers are almost always or frequently excited to teach. 83% feel their teacher is extremely or quite respectful. And we saw an increase in 6% in the perception of students enjoying school, and an increase in 8% in perception of students getting help from an adult if they're feeling that they're being bullied. Any questions?
Question?
Thank you.
Certainly, yeah, acknowledging a very challenging year, I think, at all buildings, but it's, you know, even that steeper of a hill when you're brand new into a building and trying to establish those relationships with your staff and everything.
Some storming is to be expected, but
Yeah.
like I said, onward.
So, thank you.
Thank you. Did I beat the 10 minutes?
You beat the clock. Yeah. Remember that old show?
I
Beat the
got
clock?
extra minutes. I get extra minutes.
Okay, so I'm gonna go over our goals that we have this year and share the progress that we've been making with working on those. Our first goal is related to language arts. We have that all of our teachers will work on administering the Countess and Pinnell reading assessment 3 to 5 times a year for all students. The 3 times a year are for the kiddos who are scoring at or above grade level and don't need as frequent kind of monitoring. And the 5 times a year are kids who are scoring below grade level and kind of need us to keep tabs on them and keep that teaching and learning cycle tight for them. In our younger grades, our lower primary grades, they often do it more than 5 times per year because kids move reading levels so quickly there with the intensive supports that they're provided with. So that's our first goal. Our second goal is that teachers will utilize that FMP reading data to form their small group instruction. So this is an exciting goal for us. Our primary teachers have been doing it for years, and we've been working on giving our grades 3 to 5 teachers up to speed with that as well. For us, we have any of our teachers who are working on focused evaluations this year. This is the area of focus. And so when we do our formal observations, we're watching and looking at teachers utilizing that data in action in their small group reading instruction. Our first math goal was pretty exciting. We had Pamela and Donio, if you may recall, created some math screeners for us that were each grade level's kind of major key learnings in math, by the end of the year. So we gave those to all students in grades 1 through 5 this year through the first 2 weeks of school, with the idea that we would see what did the last year, what did they pick up and what do they still need to be working on. And so we also instituted something new this year called tier time, which is an opportunity each day for teachers to mix students within a grade level and focus on areas where kids have gaps from just being out or on hybrid learning last year. And so they utilize those screeners to look for gaps to mix students accordingly. And then kids are getting that intentional instruction in those areas. Grades 3 through 5, as we've gotten later in the year, they're also utilizing the Smarter Balanced Assessment IABs, which are little quick kind of 10 to 12, 15 question assessments on the content that they've already learned this year. And it's giving them just more updated data to use when they're mixing students around for that tier time.
You're doing great.
Our second math goal is that students in all classrooms will receive support from our title math team. We have 3 staff members that go around to every classroom every day. And what they do is they utilize that math curriculum that we have is Eureka Math, and teachers teach a lesson every day. The next day, kids take an exit ticket, which is usually 1 to 4 questions based on the previous day's lessons. Our title math team comes in, they pull all the exit tickets, and they see who struggled with retaining the concept. And so then they'll just work exclusively with those kids. The great thing about it is you're not a title math kid, it's who needs help today. And so everybody every day has that opportunity should they need it. They also work on teaching vocabulary. Especially important with things like story problems that you know what the question is asking, you know what those words mean. And so you might be able to know how to do the math, but if you don't know what the words are, you'll never get there. And so they work on explicitly teaching that vocabulary. And then also, as we kind of gear up towards state testing season, they pull sample questions from the test and work through those with the kids. Our next goal is culture, and it's about making sure that our staff feel that sense of belonging and inclusion at our building. We were in a unique position this year where we hired quite a few new staff members to start the year after being separated and spending not as much time together as we normally would over the past 2 years. And so we kicked off August and coming back together with our new staff and did a scavenger hunt, which was fun. We had grade level teams and department teams get together and go through a series of tasks that pertain to the job, pertain to the building, teaching them kind of some new things, but also giving them some time to bond. You can't work through challenges together unless you have trust. And so we need to kind of create those opportunities for trust. And so we did that. Donna hosted last fall a chili cook-off and outdoor movie night at her house. We invited all the staff and she was gracious enough to have us all out on her back patio. And that was very fun. People loved it. They loved getting together outside, in the fresh air. So that was great. Most recently, we had a baby shower for one of our staff members who just brought a new little one into the world last week. And so that was just such a great time for us to celebrate, you know, hope for the future and love and happiness and just be together. So we really enjoyed that. The one opportunity that our early release days have afforded us other than time together is we all have the same lunch half hour, which doesn't ever happen any other day. And so for many of those days, we put together staff potlucks where we'd all be in the gym 6 feet apart, but you know, we'd still be together. And so those were important times for us as well. One big initiative that we've kind of taken on this year as administrators is making sure that we're noticing all the things that our staff are doing that typically we think to ourselves, hey, that's great, but not follow through in any way. And so we've been trying to write thank you cards, emails of appreciation. We're over 400 at this point in the year, and we're still going. So that's been good. We can see that this is working. There's a question on the interim survey that talks about how connected do you feel to other adults in your building? And we're up 14% from the fall to winter. So we know that we're excited. One other thing that we did that I think has had a big impact is in our work with the administrator team with Brene Brown's Dare to Lead and Laurel Smiley kind of leading us through that. We did an exercise on core values. It was super impactful for Donna and I to kind of think about the way that you approach a challenge really is dictated by your core values. And if someone else on your team has a different set of core values, you might look at things differently. And we don't want people to see that as, you know, we're just I'm right, you're wrong. And so we did this exercise with our staff during a recent early release time. And it was pretty powerful. The grade level teams or department teams got to really know a little bit more about each other and take a look at how our core values complement each other and how do the differences in them provide more opportunities to help our students. And so that was very impactful. All right, our students also, we had a goal for culture about increasing their sense of belonging.
You got 3 minutes left. You're
Really fast. Increasing their sense of belonging as well. It is, I think, probably the most challenging for the little ones to have been home because they couldn't drive out and go see their friends. They were less likely to have, you know, online interactions. And so they really have been, you know, 2 years, many of them without interactions at all. So their social development was super stunted in many ways for many kids. So we've been trying to combat that by having our special education teacher, one of them, Mr. Newton, he has created daily lunch videos. So every single day at lunch, the kids are eating in their classrooms and the paraeducators broadcast a video that's all about some kind of social emotional learning. So he's utilizing all kinds of curriculums that we have, the zones of regulation, be a social detective, we thinkers, all these things that give kids explicit lessons on how to interact with one another, how to handle conflict and that kind of a thing, which they haven't had the opportunity to practice for quite a while. So that's been important. Our student and staff support person, Carla Drescher, she goes once a month to every classroom, kindergarten through 2nd grade, and she does direct instruction on social emotional learning as well. We have a birthday recognition program where every student on their birthday gets a visit, a certificate, a pencil. I delivered one myself today. It was adorable. It's a green pencil. He goes, this is my dad's favorite color. He goes, well, my favorite color is red. So next year, can I have a red one? Yes. And then in February, we did a positive phone call blitz with staff. We had over 20% of our students receive positive phone calls home from their teachers to their families, and lots of tears, lots of thank yous, lots of you made my days, and that was from our staff. Echoing what they heard from families, and so those are really good opportunities. Our winter panorama data showed that 66% of our kids are feeling like they belong at Gray Wolf, which at first was like, oh, but then we looked and that's 80th percentile nationally, which tells you a lot of kids all across the country are feeling the disconnect. And so that's something that we're working to continue. I skipped MTSS goal.
You've got about 1 minute
Oh, I
left.
do?
Yeah.
Okay. The second MTSS goal is that teachers will meet bi-monthly with our Tier 2 support staff and administration to discuss student progress. So even if you are in our lab reading program, you're not stuck there all year. You get chosen, selected at the beginning of the year based on our fall assessments. And if you're progressing and you reach grade level, we exit you out. We bring new kids in. It's kind of can be a bit of a revolving door as kids meet their goals. And so that's been great. That started with us meeting with those teachers bi-weekly. Our primary grades still meet bi-weekly because kids really do move through levels pretty quickly there. Our grades 3 through 5, we moved to monthly meetings, and it's been very successful. How was it? Oh, thank you. I'm sorry, Jennifer Lopez.
Great job.
Any questions?
Yes, I have a very important question. As somebody who has a July birthday, and so I never got to have school birthday parties. Do you do something for the kids with this?
Super fun idea. So we have been talking about doing a half birthday. So you don't get half pencil, whole pencil, but.
That always makes me very happy for the July birthdays of the world.
I just have a question about principals, all of the principals here. Do you guys fill out the panorama? Because I just think it's kind of lonely at the top. Do you have like a support for yourselves? What a hard job. You know?
Yeah, we fill it out. I don't know that it gets disaggregated in any way, or if it just goes into our building data. I don't know. I scored myself, I think. Any other questions?
No, thank you. Great job.
I had 8 seconds, right?
Yeah, you had 8 seconds. You can still use
So
it.
I just want to say all of our SBA testing in the fall, we were above the state in all areas, which was exciting. And also our Acadians readers are crushing it, so we're happy.
Yes.
I just wanted to comment on, it's not really a question, but something that I think is so great about, I think you and another person also said, talking about how when you're identifying needs of kids on a particular day on about a particular subject, and it's like, okay, what can we do to help you now? It doesn't, I mean, again, you know, you are harken back to your past of, you know, it's like, you're either like in the smart kid group or the struggling kid group, and the idea to go, hey, I'm struggling today, you know, this kid might be struggling today, it doesn't mean they're always struggling, let's help them and give them the help they need, so that tomorrow they're caught up with everybody else. And I just think, I know how, I can't even imagine how much work that is to try to identify that day in and day out and realize, hey, you know, this kid might be having some trouble at home, maybe this month they're kind of struggling, but you know, then things are going to get better, and I just am so impressed by just the hopefulness that gives to kids, you know, not like, oh, you're in the slow math class and you'll never be good at math. I mean, the next year they might be great at math. And the idea that you're able to kind of micro identify those needs for the kids and help them kind of with, you know, maybe there's just a particular concept they're struggling with. And then once you can help them get that, then they can move on. I just am so impressed with that. And so thank you for explaining that and talking about that, because I just think that's fantastic. And in terms of equity and all kids feeling like they can achieve and they can be successful and they don't get pigeonholed. And I'm just so impressed by that. So thank you for talking about that.
So fun fact, I have a 7-year-old and 9-year-old at Bellwether as well, and I was practicing over the weekend. And my 9-year-old, she's listening, she goes, that's how they make our groups. Yeah. Any other questions?
It's beautiful.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you so much.
I just want to say to everybody, I know it's just been an incredibly difficult year, and I appreciate each and every one of you, and I just want to stand and give all of you another round of applause. Thank you. Thank you for everything you did. And of course, I know it's not all done on your own, so please, on behalf of the board, please share our appreciation with your teams that help you make it happen too. So thank you all. Superintendent, is okay?
Okay, I'm gonna, yes, I would say the best gift that we can give to you right now is to excuse you if you wish to leave. And that is,
Great job.
you all did a great job, and thank you. It's a long Monday for you. Thank you all very much.
Especially appreciate the feedback on the vaping as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good night. I hope you have time to have 5 minutes of rest this evening, which is probably about all you can. Okay, okay, I will try to be
Okay.
as brief as possible, but as we all know, Monday is a big day this coming week for us. It is when masks become optional in the district. And so many people are looking forward to unmasking, and many people are planning to continue masking. And we support staff and students' choices there, and we are making it very clear that masks are optional, and we respect those who unmask and those who, what we're naming as sort of remasking, because the health department is recommending now that those who wish to remain masks be very vigilant about the masks that they choose to wear, and that they are well-fitted, good quality, high quality masks. And so that information is shared with staff too. Sonia, our nurse, has just been on top of all of this. She's been doing just an excellent job. And sits on actually in a work group with the state health folks on all of these issues. So anyway, we're really looking forward to that. Some other things that we are really looking forward to, just quickly, as the beginning of our podcasts. The first one was recorded and will be available as of next Wednesday. No, this Friday, the 10th, this Friday. So you can view it. And Megan is busy creating the next one, so they'll be every 2 weeks. Our public, and we invite the public to tune in. It's a spotlight on our students, and they're having so far, I met the kids the morning, and they were so proud of being selected for it, and just so jazzed about the process of having a podcast. It was just really fun. And so who knows, we may have budding journalists as a result of giving them that opportunity. We are also looking now with the option of, with masks being optional, of reopening our facilities. As you know, we've already opened our auditorium, and there's been at least one event there, and there's other events scheduled in the near future. So we're working on a plan to reopen our facilities, all of our facilities soon. Principals know that they have no need to unlock their door, or, I mean, they may unlock their doors. They don't need to have locked doors. Parents are welcome to come into the office and do business as normal in the past. Opening our facilities in general, we want to make sure that we do that thoughtfully, and we prioritize. We have groups that would like to use our facilities, and we want to make sure that we are ready for that. And so that'll all be unveiled here very soon, and we want to welcome the community back and onto our campuses and into our buildings as soon as we can do that the right way. So look forward to that. And along with that same note, our volunteers are wanting to re-engage with us, and we're working hard at accomplishing that with them. It's quite a process. People who wish to volunteer have to be vetted through a state patrol check, and it's a process to do that. And it does also cost, like Victoria tells me, $11 per person to do that. So we are planning in every week now, like in cabinet, how we're going to make this happen as quickly as we can. And it's a lot of work. The principals tell us that there's as many as potentially 500 volunteers out there. And so that's fabulous, and we are so grateful to our community for that. But we can't just jump back in. It's not like jumping off the diving board. I mean, we have to wade into the swimming pool here, get everything figured out and get people vetted and then to come back. So we've asked them to tell us what are their most urgent needs in terms of upcoming events and the urging those people to go online. They have to go online. And Victoria, did they have to fill out a form online if they wish to become a volunteer? And then we will process them as quickly as we can so that they can come back into our buildings. And we're really looking forward to them returning. So such a partnership and such a wonderful service that they provide to the district. The other thing that is ongoing work, and I will turn to Bo on this one, the tech staff and the ESD in partnership with the tech staff and many people have been working really long and hard on our internet safety issues, our firewalls, our protocols, our education for our students and our staff, and ultimately our parents. We are making plans to offer training to all of those groups over time and on an ongoing basis. And so that plan is being developed right now. And Bo and his staff continue. They've done yeoman's work on getting us to where we are right now. It's very complicated in terms of, you plug it in over here and it unplugs over here. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like, the old whack-a-mole joke. Stuff that can't even be anticipated. So that has been a challenge, and they have been doing a wonderful job of getting us to where we are now. But there's still a ways to go. It's not an easy, one size fits all, or you just flip a button and it's done. It's a very complicated thing. And they've been working very hard on it. So I just want to thank Bo for that work, and it's ongoing and difficult work. The ESD has offered some assistance to us, and that's been great. And Bo has identified like software that we need and programs that we need that we're in the process of getting in place too, so that it can happen. It's big work. So I believe that's all I have to say tonight. So,
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I definitely want to speak to my appreciation to prioritizing getting volunteers back. I know not an easy task, but I can say, speaking on behalf of an elementary teacher, one of the things on a day-to-day basis I heavily relied on was parent volunteers up and out in my classroom. I know that's something that a lot of our folks have been without for a long time. So,
Absolutely. They're helpful in so many ways.
Yeah.
In classrooms, on field trips, at sporting events. I mean, it's just everything across the district, and they've been sorely missed, and it's made difficult jobs for teachers and principals even more difficult because they haven't had that backbone of support from the volunteers. So yes, it's definitely, we're trying our best to get that back in operation.
Any other questions? Oh,
I just had a quick question, since we've got Victoria and Darlene here. I'm wondering if we could ask when a person is filling out a volunteer application, if they would be willing to donate the cost of their doing their application fee. I mean, $11 doesn't seem like that much for one
Tell
person,
500
but times
times 500, yeah.
That's a lot of money, and I would think that most people would be glad if they understand, it's going to cost us $11 or $15 or whatever, and when they're filling it out, if they could, I don't know if that's even
Is it possible, Darlene or Victoria? Or is it difficult getting that kind of money into the system? It may be.
I don't know if it'd be difficult, but I don't know, I think about that a little bit. It's a good idea to just think about how that would work, but it might work, yeah.
something to look into.
Yeah, we can, that's something that we can try to figure out and see if it'll work or not.
Especially if it's an option thing too.
Yeah,
We
where they
certainly wouldn't want to
could.
put somebody that
Oh, no,
can't
no,
provide it.
Absolutely, right,
Yeah,
no, you
no.
wouldn't want that to feel like a
No,
That would be a real
barrier, yeah.
not want to make it a barrier
No,
for sure.
not at
Yeah.
all.
And I'm thinking about the length of the background check, will go into next year. And typically it was a 1-year application, and then you'd come back the next year. Is there a way of extending that into since we're 3/4 of the way through this school year, was it,
I believe it could easily be at least through next year. And many districts do it, if I'm right, is like it's an every 2-year renewal, perhaps. But definitely more than between now and the end of the year, most certainly. Is that correct information, Victoria, that it's many do 2-year, a 2-year
That's
check?
correct information. This is my first go around with waiting.
Yeah,
Here, but yeah, I think that's right.
Uh,
It's usually 2.
I think, yeah, that's my memory of it from the past, but I don't know.
Well,
what's
our-
current, but-
here, we had, as a volunteer before I came out, was that you had to do it every fall.
Oh, okay,
And, but
okay,
that could just be,
So-
because I'm thinking of the choir trip and what, because I'm putting the robotics, so those are volunteers, chaperones
Uh-huh.
on there, and some of them will probably be on the next year too, especially with choir and band, those things that travel. So,
sure. I think we want to be cautious, and we want to vet our volunteers. But I don't know that certainly, I would hope this year through next would be. And then that's something that we can look into in terms of ongoing procedure for doing that. But I think 2 years is a reasonable amount of time. And I think, we can certainly check around too to see if there's any practice that's common.
I can
or not.
speak to my, my vast amount of
Your
elementary schools
elementary,
that I've worked
yeah.
at, which is one. And it's 2 years, but
2 years.
that's all I can.
It was in my past experience also, but I don't think, there's nothing that binds us one way or the other. It says you must, nothing that says you must do it every year or every 2 years. I think whatever we decide, so.
well, and I'm just thinking of when the middle school, they were talking about, we asked them about math club,
Mhm.
and there was a group of community folks that, so that was 5 years ago.
Mhm,
Where
they were doing that.
Yeah, they were doing
That's
a
wonderful.
tutor
Yeah.
program, and there was a couple of the faith community got together that,
Mhm.
so how are we advertising that need out would be the other.
Right, we are starting to seek volunteers. Megan's last blurb, if you will, for lack of a technical term, talked about, we're excited to announce that we'll be welcoming back our volunteers to our classrooms. It's been a long 2 years without you. We have missed you greatly and look forward to having you back. If you're interested in becoming a SWIM district volunteer, please click here to submit an application. Applications will begin to be processed starting at spring break, April 4th through the 8th. So that was her message out to parents and everything. So we're trying to get the word out there.
We could probably also do a press release and.
Certainly we can. Absolutely. And that just reminds me quickly, and I apologize for getting to say this before, but that's the other thing that we're starting to plan multiple ways to re-enroll our students and to recruit students, from being at the farmer's market to, banners, to events, to all kinds of things. We want to get those students back that we've lost, that couple hundred students that went away during this time. We want them back, and we hope that we can get them back. So,
Do we
yeah.
know where they are? I mean, are they with particular online academies, or do we know that?
I don't think we know necessarily where they are. No, they don't have to tell us where they just disappear, sort of.
So Megan, could send that, we'll call it volunteer application to the Chamber of Commerce, and they would, because the district is a
Sure.
member of the Chamber of Commerce, and then it'll be on the Chamber of Commerce's page.
Yeah,
And
great idea.
then the community members, because
Mhm.
they're all chopping at the bits to come back to.
Yeah, excellent.
Let the
Yeah,
railroad
we're all
ties.
ears when it comes to ideas, so share them now or later or anytime that seriously, if you think of some good ideas, please share them. What was wonderful when we started talking about it was It took Megan about 30 seconds to go, oh, I could do this and this and this and this and this. I mean, she's just, and our cabinet too, and principals and everybody. It's just, everybody's just hungry. So I think you'll see a lot coming up here pretty soon. So thank you. I took a lot
Any
of time.
additional questions?
I just had a question on you might have to fill out the application every year. Does the full $11 background check happen every year?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, because I volunteered several years, the first time I got fingerprinted was just this fall. Is
Yeah.
that new or something we just forgot to do?
Yeah, that's for a board member, not a volunteer. Volunteers don't have to get fingerprinted.
Right.
They
Is
just
that
have to,
new- Is that a new requirement?
for board members. Don't know that. Yeah, Tracy says it's new. I don't remember it in the past. I had to get fingerprinted too, and I don't have fingerprints, so it was quite challenging.
Well, I asked that because colleagues around the state didn't get fingerprinted, so what was it for
Oh.
us? But I don't mind it, but
Well,
it's just
I don't know. I don't know the answer,
Mhm.
but thank you for getting fingerprinted. I guess now we know that you're not wanted in Utah for something strange, right?
Any other questions? All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, that brings us to 12.01. We have the first reading, policy 2413. And,
Yep,
Go
may
ahead.
I?
Yes.
On that subject, thank you. This, actually, this policy, 2413, is that the one you're talking about? Yeah, 2413. I got my glasses. This policy is in fact current with the WASDA policy, and it was actually kind of it ended up on the list of needing to be reviewed when it really does not.
Okay.
It's current and it's completely compliant, and we're good to go on it. So you really can dismiss it. It will come up again at another time through regular policy review, but right now it is current as of February, I believe.
Okay.
And so I think you're free not to, to just not take any action with it. I don't think it's
Okay.
necessary.
all right. Any further comments on that?
do we need to, I don't know, take some motion to move it off the agenda or what?
No, we discussed it as an agenda item,
Discuss
but
it.
we're
You
not
don't need to
forced
take a vote.
action.
You don't have to take, no action is really necessary
Right.
on it at all. So it's in place as it should be.
So without objection, we will just proceed with the agenda. All right, that brings us 12.02 superintendent search update, and I appreciate the comments that were made so far about where we're at in the process. Just wanted to kind of both for our public, but as well just a reminder to the rest of the board that I'm of the impression things are going well. We have at our last meeting, we made the decision to select 3 finalists, and the next step will be coming up on Thursday, where we will have our group of stakeholders interview the 3 finalists. And stakeholders, of course, it's a group of 15 individuals, and so I'm very much looking forward to their feedback on the candidates. They will be held to the same level of confidentiality that we are holding, just to protect the confidentiality of the candidates themselves. But that's going to be a panel of elementary school parent, middle school parent, high school parent, students are a part of that, community members, a representative from the tribe. We'll also have employees from all elementary, middle school, high school, specific classified, or another employee in most of these positions, with the exception of the tribe and a couple by labor representatives, were all selected via lottery. So I of course value that input. And then
This is gonna be online, right?
yes,
It's gonna
it'll
be
be
by Zoom.
a virtual,
Right.
virtual interview. So, and then after that point is when we will hold on Saturday, we will hold our interviews of the finalists, which will be in person.
Have
three
those been
finalists.
scheduled yet? Like times?
I have not received the final schedule, but I assume they have been. Through.
Tracy says yes.
Through it. Awesome. Yeah, so Hank's setting all that up to make sure that it's all
I don't know
runs.
what time I have to be there.
Yeah.
I think pretty
It'll-
close to 8.
Yeah, it'll be another one of those long days, so.
And it'll be here.
We're still waiting to find out about location, right? Do we know where well, actually, it's a confidential
Yes,
location, of
we
course.
do know.
But,
Okay.
yes, for, again, the confidentiality of the candidates.
That's
It's not
right.
something that's, not a particular detail released to the public as to where those are held, so. So yes, that's where things are at, and, I'm excited that we have some great candidates, that seem extremely excited about our district in the area as as I anticipated they would be, so I think it's great. Any other thoughts or questions on that?
I have one.
Yes,
You have a meeting on Sunday as well.
right. Is that an if needed meeting?
I think that's a solid meeting.
Okay,
That's gonna be and at the end of that will be an
Decision.
announcement. According to Hank, the schedule that he gave me, there'll be a selection. So not to do that on Saturday after you've had a full day, you'll come back Sunday, have a discussion, open it up, make that selection. You'll move forward with your selection and then announce at some further time. But that was a question on whether that was going to be virtual and in person.
okay. And so the candidates won't be present, that'll just be the
Nope,
board.
just board
Um,
and Hank.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and it'll be a executive session followed by, and then it'll be at that moment, it'll still be a letter designation would be my assumption. I'll open that up to the board. Does anybody have any preference for the Sunday meeting? Whether or not it's virtual or in person?
I would prefer in person, but
I have to see, I don't know what the candidates' travel plans are.
Well, this is.
Candidates
That's
will
just
not-
your-
Oh, just for us?
Just for us.
As far-
To make a
I
decision.
think it probably ought to be in person if we can.
And I had asked way back that it be after about 11:30, 12. So
Yeah, I believe it's scheduled.
I think it's scheduled
Check with-
from 11:30 to 1:30 right now.
Okay. Because Hank will maybe be there or not.
Will.
It depends on his travel schedules too,
I believe he plans on being here in person for that.
on
so-
Saturday and Sunday.
Yes, correct. So it sounds like an in-person,
Okay, thank you.
so, yeah. That doesn't put too much inconvenience on any staff that has to be.
Tracy? Would you be referring to Tracy?
Well,
Yes.
anybody.
Yes,
and we
yeah, it does.
have a new email.
Tracy's
from
working on weekends then, you know.
Well, it shows,
All right. So,
they were asking about the packets. What
I
is
just
it?
noticed this on my.
oh, that was information that I think you received via email.
It's hard copy of what you
It's a
received
hard copy of
in
what you
email.
Oh,
received.
confidential.
So you have,
telling us the best of me.
it's just, that was your hard copy of it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any additional comments regarding superintendent?
No, good process, excellent process.
Okay, and that brings us to 12.01, bid litigation. And this is, and you will note that it is on our agenda as a potential action item as well. So a couple of different ways we can do this. If there is interest in somebody making a motion, I would certainly entertain that. We can then discuss after a motion is made. Or if no one's prepared to make a motion, we could discuss prior to making a motion. But if somebody's ready to make a motion, I would gladly entertain that.
Mr. Chair, I prepare to make a motion.
Okay.
I move that the board authorize the superintendent to work with the Stevens Clay Law Firm to have the Sequim School District join the pending vaping lawsuit against Jewel, is that how it's pronounced? And Artera, which is the successor to Philip Morris.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Uh,
Go ahead.
I think back to, before COVID, so BC, vaping was our largest concern here. We had a lot of disciplinary other actions. A lot of it was at the middle school because it was the new thing for kids to do from the entering 6th grade type thing. I think it was, we had great concerns of it even moving down into the elementary area. And then COVID hit and just, so all those students were at home for that time period. And then now that they're back on campus, that brings all those other challenges. So reading through what was given to us and then the presentation, I think we should move through this and I'd like Alyssa's question about what does it mean into the community, and a lot of that is education out there. And so there's something. So I would be voting in favor of it.
Yeah, I was looking back past history. I was appointed to the board in October of 19, and the second meeting, my October 21st, I brought up the vaping e-cigarettes new law that had recently been passed.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, it was in regards to adding vaping language to our smoking policy. So, so this obsession with policy was early, but there was no vaping. At the time, there was no vaping e-cigarettes language in our policies. It was smoking or maybe chewing tobacco.
Tobacco
maybe,
use, yeah.
So that we discussed it for several meetings. I think we finally got it into a policy, that word vaping, but we didn't really do much about it after that. But I think it's time to have an intentional effort to at least put out the word, this is not okay. Even if we don't receive any share of the settlement, we're going on record as saying our district does not support vaping, and we're going to do what we can to help eradicate vaping and to help those who need the help due to a nicotine addiction. And my youngest daughter, she's 40 now, she vapes. She smoked, and now she moved to vape to try to get off cigarettes. Here in Colorado, we went into a convenience store, 7-Eleven or whatever, and she bought some vaping pens, but didn't bring her ID in, and she's 40, and they would not sell to her.
Wow.
Now, Dad being Dad, I had my ID, so I went and bought them. But just to show how, I mean, that is, and I don't know what the laws are here, or how well they're enforced, but it's definitely a message to the kids and to the community that, at least for kids, this is not okay.
Yes.
You're gonna be an adult and vape, that's your problem or your choice, or maybe in my daughter's case, it was a way for her to get off cigarettes. So, yeah, I'll be in favor of this motion. I think it sends a message to the community and to the kids. And I think we ought to support this effort that they're going through.
I would also say that from what I understand, it also seems like it's structured pretty well in terms of if we do receive any funds, there's some flexibility in how we use it. They gave, there are certain categories, but it's not fixed as to how to divide those funds up. So we could decide what's best for the school district in terms of how that the outcome is used. So I think that's good too.
I would also just add, I think it was great that we had happened to have our administrators here this
Yeah.
evening, and to hear some input from that, because we know that they are on the ground dealing with that on a daily basis. And I appreciated my fellow colleagues that did talk about about treatment as opposed to, this isn't, it's unfortunate the way that it's targeted, and then you have that chemical addiction from something that was targeted. And I think there is a level of understanding that we have to have as we approach the solution to it, which of course involves education, but obviously some understanding as to how they became addicted to this substance as well. So I appreciate the comments of my colleagues on that in particular.
Yeah, I was really glad Principal Langston was here, because I really, I assumed we had kids vaping, but I had no clue, that they had. It's such a problem now, especially after COVID. I mean, I hear about it, but I didn't know about SQUIM specifically.
Yeah. So, any further discussion before?
No, I concur. I think this is a worthwhile effort, and I appreciate that it does not sound like it's gonna take a lot of staff time to get us up and
That's true.
running. I think we're all sensitive about not wanting to put more work on people who are already really busy, but it sounds like this is something that we'll be able to get done pretty promptly, and I really think we should support this effort for the health of our kids.
I see no upfront cost for joining beyond approximately 2 to 5 hours of staff time.
And whatever, if as much of that that I can do as possible, I will. I'm guessing that they want information about the extent of the problem here and and what the issues are for us. So I will have to rely on, principals for input there, but I'll try to own that time and keep it away from them the best as possible. I don't know exactly what they're asking for yet, because I haven't seen that, but we'll try to get it done with as little impact on our building people as possible.
I remember back when it was first starting, the age requirement of having the pen, and there was some with our SRO at the time, who's now a detective, and meeting with the parents, and the parent, well, that's mine, doesn't belong to my dad of it. And so probably with the SROs, they probably have a lot of background of those interactions.
For sure. Yeah, maybe they can help.
All right, and last thing I just wanted to mention is I appreciate it. Your questions specifically, I want to mention again, it's nice having with your legal background to ask those specific questions.
I was just curious. I tried to stop myself before I got
I think
too far afield, but I don't know. I mean, it's like where there's this case and that, once you start picking it apart, I could tell. I thought, oh my God, this guy's just stop talking. But I assume that what they're going for is some kind of a universal settlement of all of these cases. And
I think that's correct.
but they probably feel like they have to go in and win a couple of cases in court before they'll have the leverage to settle. So it'll be interesting to see how it proceeds.
Do people ever get turned down, but like if they get our data and decide we're not a strong enough plaintiff?
Not
will
at
they
all.
say
No.
I don't think
No.
so. Doesn't sound
We
like
want to be there, and
They want a long
it's clear to
list
me,
of schools.
they want as much participation as possible, because if one kid here vapes, that's enough. I mean, I don't think we have to prove that we're worthy. I don't think it's that at all. So, fortunately, that's great. Yeah.
All right. So on Director Stopper's motion on proceeding with with joining, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes.
I took the motion from G from the outline here. So
Okay.
Beautiful. Yeah.
All right.
so just like
Excellent. All right. 13.01 upcoming board meetings. So we've already talked about when we will be convening again, which is going to be Saturday.
Yep.
And I think any other good of the order items of interest?
I did, what's that?
What, you think? This?
I meant to bring this up as one of the other bills, and that's 5252. And that's on the concerning school district and consultations with local tribes. And so WASDA, the bill has been signed. I think that's it today. So WASDA will be coming up with a model policy. This will be added to board directors' onboarding training requirements. And so there has to be a curriculum in place on 1 January 2023. So watch for that. We'll probably see it at the annual conference in November for that training. And then I'll probably either in regional meetings and so forth, but it has to be done in person too, is what's language in the bill, sort of like the equity training that Larry and I attended. It has to be done in person right now. And then however WASDA answers the legislators on how it was accomplished, but so I sent you a separate email on just this bill this afternoon. So otherwise, thank you.
Director Stoffer, you can correct me if I'm wrong, on the equity training, basically, we're required 9 hours
Yep.
of equity training, which is gonna be 4 2.5-hour workshops.
Yep.
The first workshop is what we took this weekend, was the introductory.
Yep.
And then there'll be 3 more elements that are gonna be required. Probably, it sounds like maybe 2 this year, 2 next year maybe. So there'll be a third person, an element coming up, but it is required by law of all of us.
Yeah.
So it's something to look for, either in WASDA or right now WASDA is probably the only one that's, I think I heard Tim Garchow say that WASDA is the only one that
Only one
can
providing.
offer these particular courses, and they will track our credit to make sure we get it in. So-
And that can't be done by webinar or Zoom?
Nope.
No, it has to be
Has
done
to be
in person.
I think WASDA, if I can speak on their behalf, from what I've heard on some of the meetings that I attend with other superintendents and WASDA and other people, they're gonna try to make it, regionalize it some so that people don't have to go to Olympia for it, because that's burdensome for people. So do it through regional meetings as well as annual conference and other ways to make it more accessible to everybody. So I think you can look forward to that rather than, having to just at one site where you have to go to Olympia and take it. I think they're going to expand that.
Right,
So
so
that'll be
they
good.
move that, so anyway, look for opportunities. It costs, by the time we tax, $52.18. So if you want to volunteer, you can pay your own or get Tracy to the schools to pay your way.
Yeah, this class was $50.
Yeah.
And I drove myself. And they are gonna do it in different regions of the air. And so we have a regional, director area 4 regional meeting coming up sometime between April to May. And it will probably be a block in there. And that regional meeting will probably be held in Bremerton or someplace kind of central to us all, to this director area 4. And so there'll be an opportunity there. And then at the next annual conference. So it'll be
Ongoing kind of
ongoing.
opportunities.
And they just released the next segment, and they talked about it on Saturday to us, and then they'll they're doing a test bed with some school board members, and then they'll roll it out from there. But doing it in person was extremely beneficial. It was just having 20 of us in that room. Larry? That's all. Yeah.
All right, well,
Sorry, take that.
with that, I just want to especially thank, I thank our administrators for being here, but want to thank everyone for being here. We have Bo and Tracy, Brennan, thanks Superintendent
Absolutely.
Zuck. We
Yes,
also have
thank you.
Darlene and Victoria here, thank you for, I know it's been a long day, so thanks for being here, and with that we will adjourn.
So we help with putting stuff
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Please help by signing everything that's in that file if
Oh,
you
yeah,
haven't
yeah.
already, 'cause
Oh,
there's
yes,
a lot.
Are we,
There's a
are we-
lot.
Are we?
We gotta
And
sign.
not
We
yet.
have to sign.
In our packet?
Should be sitting right here. You have to sign everything here. Not in
Oh,
that
this.
packet.
Oh, not this, I was
What?
gonna say.
I was just.
No, not the manila.